Hello, beautiful friends. I don't know if I should be actually even recording this. I recorded the event before, and so I'm posting it. I don't want to go through all of it again, but it was a kind of like a recap of the ascension process. And then I started to listen to Patricia after, and I thought this is really great. It all makes sense. You know, we always want to be helping with the puzzle pieces. So it's all the same wonderful stuff. And so now that I've seen Patricia, what she shared on the last new moon, and what I shared this morning on the call, I'm pretty confident that we are on the right path, doing the right things. And that one of the most important things we can do, one of them, and I'm going to try to pull everything from my consciousness to present it properly. So, is that connection with our divine self. Is to let go of the limited lower human nature, the personality self, the stories, histories, the baggage, the negative energy in our emotional body, in our mental body, in the physical body, in the etheric body, and to transmute it all. And we have so many wonderful options, but one of the most powerful options is actually the light of our divine self. Now, the light of our divine self, I have some stories about it, of course. And so I'm going to tell those stories because to me, this is, listening to Patricia, how it is important to actually take this precious shift of the ages moment and to actually use it and to be ready, because we want to be ready. And we talked about this before, what the beings told us is that this energy will come. Yes, it will come. But if there is still too much garbage of all the human nonsense, then the energy just will have to be spent going through the garbage. But if it's all clean, squeaky, beautifully shining clean of the divine light, then the energy will lift us up into that amazing, amazing timeline of the new earth that also Patricia speaks about, that I personally have visited. And she said that we all visited it. She said we all got to see the potential. The thing is that this potential already has been created as a causal plane of, like, to me, that's the higher self of the earth when you can travel to the new earth, because now we have human beings who live there. Now we have human beings who actually can communicate with us. And to me, this is so amazing. Thank you, Grace. And so, I'm going through the layers of consciousness that are around me to pull this information down. And sometimes it's not really coherent, like the way that I would like it to be. So maybe I should start writing it all down. But I just want to say, from all that I've seen, for example, with the divine self, is that there is immense, immense, immense power within us to actually have this one-on-one with what people call God, to have one-on-one with Divine Mother, and to feel so like, yes, I deserve, this is my mother, this is my divine source. How could they not talk to me? Of course they do. And so to me, this is like we are building our divinity back to where it actually should be, so that you and me as a collective go and say, hey, divine source, how are you today? We are working on a project on planet Earth. We need some assistance. What can you offer? And so on and so on. But actually, the funny thing is, I already hear the answer, and that is, well, you guys are the team that offered the assistance. So here you are assisting. So, okay, get it. And so here we are assisting with something really incredible. Again, timelines. I'm not a physicist, and it's beyond anything I fully comprehend, but I have been through different timelines. Even, you can have different timelines as a person, like living a human life. So I have visited several timelines where your life simply is different from what it is right now. And I learned to collapse these timelines if I don't want them, so that my reality stays beautiful. And so this is for humanity as well. We are all learning what we already know. It's kind of silly, but that's what we're doing. As Oren always says, you already are enlightened, you just haven't realized it. And so as we work here with the divine self, I hope that you feel the passion that I feel too. We are actually breaking through all the limitations. One of the big limitations that we are breaking through is the limited human mind that functions kind of brokenly in weird ways, with really a broken brain. And I talked about this before, but the brain is not at its highest potential. It used to be different. Our brain used to be actually a coherent brain that was really balanced. We had a brain that was the right and left worked as one. So that's why we also perceived everything through the lens of oneness. There is that beautiful TED Talk that many of you have seen. I've watched it again and again, and it's a scientist, and she has a stroke. And so she's, as a scientist, brain scientist, you know, she understands what's happening to her, and she's able to experience the right hemisphere, and then she's able to experience the left hemisphere. Thank you for putting it. And if anyone has a link to that as well, absolutely amazing. So Jill, thank you. She describes it from what I would call this incredible perspective, how the right and left are so unbelievably different. And so one thinks, yes, my stroke of insight, exactly. And so one half thinks we are separate, but the other one is one with all. One sees everything as individuals, but the other one sees the unity. The thing is that what happened when we, you know, fell from grace is that our brain also fell from that grace, whatever we want to call it. This event that happened in the past, the event when we all actually forgot. And we are still in that civilization that lives in amnesia, even though we are awakening and we have so many different wonderful things happening, but it still is amnesia as a collective. And that is because the brain also is out of balance. So for us as mystics, we want to reconnect the right and left so that we can experience oneness. And so when we work with our divine self, we are completely rewiring also our brain to be able to actually work as one. And so then we have a different lens of perceiving reality. So today we will be working on really letting go of this distortion within the mind. We want to free the mind from this, and instead we want to be in our divine mind, having divine thoughts. Now, when I experience, for example, what we refer to as Kundalini awakening, what happened is that my brain got rewired that day. And I remember sitting in Berkeley with a friend, and I was just looking around, and my brain was, for the first time ever that I remembered, not making any judgments about anything, not good, not bad. It was in complete oneness. And I observed people walking by, and my brain said nothing. But the human brain that I knew before would always say, oh, this and that, nice and not nice, and, big and small, and all of that, but it could delete it. Now, I was, for the first time as an adult, because I know we all experienced this as children, didn't we? As children, we didn't have to constantly put labels on things because we were free. We had a free mind to be in the beingness. And that was so wonderful. That's why I love, the beautiful knowledge that children bring, which is the beingness, which is the joy, which is just that incredible aliveness for life. And so today, again, we'll be going through this process. The wonderful thing about Orin, of course, is that Orin always gives us a transmission. So even if you feel restless and maybe your meditations are not perfect, it doesn't matter. Because I say, even if you're washing the dishes and you listen to Orin, you are receiving a transmission. And so, very beautiful. So today, the key is the mind. Now, how do we, I don't think that we can fully rewire our mind as a collective until the solar flash comes. Because the solar flash, to me, when I received it, it goes into the brain, it goes through the nervous system, it goes actually directly into the brain and rewires everything. It gives you new information about everything, who you are, who you have been, who you will be. And then it travels down the spine. And it is almost like taking a hammer and hitting the spine with that solar flash. And so I do believe we all will go back into that different state of our nervous system, different state of our brain. And the video that I made in 2020, which is the Cherokee's grandmother's message to humanity, it has all the information that was given to me, which really just is so brilliant because it explains to us how when this happened last time, we all fell asleep. But when it happens this time, we all will wake up. And so when it happened last time, we got distorted, the brain got damaged, nothing functioning properly anymore. But now, I love it, restoration. And so I was listening to, yes, and it's amazing, like, why do we have two halves of the brain that are so different from each other? Well, that's because it's part of our dysfunction. Now it's going to be them working as one, meaning divine mother, divine father within us working as one. That's the beautiful balance. And also the right and left hand, of course, which I encourage everyone to use both hands as much as you can, and simply train yourself. Train yourself to be in oneness in your body. The body is also the big mystery. I always say they try to tell us it was not, but that is not the truth at all. The body is not just a vessel. The body is not just a vehicle. It is actually an amazing multidimensional tuning fork that allows your consciousness to be here now and to have an experience. And of course, we usually, as humans, don't have all that amazing experience every day. But when we attune the body also physically to these cosmic energies, to actually be able to receive through every cell, then we always live in bliss and harmony. And actually we delete all the nonsense from the emotional body, from the mental body, from the etheric body. And then the bliss flows through us, but it flows through the tuning fork of your body. That's why we want to have a good nervous system. We don't want to damage it with anything. And for example, Yogananda, he always said, don't eat animals, for many reasons, but one of them was that the nervous system actually gets damaged when people eat meat. That's just one of the reasons. So, to me, like, it's no brainer. If I can be in my highest self, I'll be in my highest self. A little bit of meat, even though actually it's funny. Last night I dreamt I was eating pork, which is really strange because I would never. But the thing is that, when we make these little adjustments, it's a little adjustment, really. And then we simply get amazing, amazing rewards. I was actually listening to Sadhguru. A great, really funny and sad video came up. A bunch of guys who were doing a bunch of, different hallucinogenic medicines or whatever you want to call it. They were asking Sadhguru, how can you live your life without ever trying hallucinogenic, whatever? And he just looked at them and he was like, I am like constantly high, because he is, living fully with his life force ignited the same way that Yogananda did, blissing out. And they were like, but no, you're missing out, Sadhguru. Surely you are just not curious enough. You need to take some drugs or whatever. Again, I don't want to call it drugs, but you need to take some hallucinogens. And he said, no, thank you. Like, I am already in my highest self, having the highest state. Why should I try anything else when I'm feeling so unbelievably hallucinogenic already? I'm already seeing into higher dimensions, but actually it's because I did my, inner engineering, for example. And so I want to say we have many different paths, and I'm not at all diminishing, the value of plant medicine if people need them. But I just want to say, for example, I was thinking about the guys who interviewed him, that they cannot imagine what's even possible because they live within a certain paradigm. But Sadhguru was looking at them from a completely different paradigm, in which energy makes you feel incredibly hallucinogenic, where energy gives you insights into higher consciousness, and where you are in charge. The same thing, like not eating meat for me, for example, or Yogananda, is why would you want to do it when you can be in much, much higher consciousness if you don't? And the reason for that is the nervous system, of course, because the energy that you put inside into the physical tuning fork will make a difference where we are tuning into. So that's pretty much the tuning fork of the body. Beautiful. Let me take a cup of tea. I highly recommend drinking tea and becoming friends with your plants within the tea. Nice plants. And so, Divine Mother is the Holy Spirit. Yes, Divine Mother is absolutely the Holy Spirit. Absolutely. And she can take on many different frequencies. She comes as the Shekinah. She comes as Sophia. She gives the frequency. She comes as Adi Shakti. It's very interesting, like consciousness has sound. This is what I've learned in higher dimensions. higher dimensions have sounds, as you can imagine, and maybe you've seen it, maybe you've heard it. And so depending on where you go, there is a sound. And so when we get to the sound of, Divine Mother, we might be hearing Adi Shakti, we might be hearing, Shekinah, we might be hearing Sophia. It's all the Holy Spirit. Absolutely amazing. And so how does this all, is our soul, our light body? To me, it is not. But again, I only know what I know, but also so much that I don't know. But Yogananda specifically was actually taking me to the soul that looked like a very, very large egg in a higher dimension. And, Oren always says it is the soul plane. To me, the souls are swimming, they are floating in the ocean of spirit. But our light body here is something that, for example, many of you activated, you worked with it. It is a structure that becomes actually alive around you. And so let's say you are on a path like we are here with Oren, that builds your light body. And then some of you even took the light body classes with Daben. You physically build the light body with frequencies and sound and light. And then the structure actually is very natural to me. It's like nature, here she goes. Nature actually creates the light body around us. And it is an expression of our consciousness. And it is an expression of all that we do, what we think, who we are, how we speak, and so on and so on. And so I had this fun experience. Again, I'm always learning, especially when I travel out of body. And this was so interesting. I came out of body and you always come in your etheric double. So, it looks like you very much. You just look etheric, kind of see-through, radiant with different patterns around you. And many different beautiful dimensions can open up to you. And depending on the shape that you are, they will let you in or not. And so I was taken into this beautiful dimension within caves within the earth. And in these caves, it was really beautiful, illuminated caves, something like, the red rocks in Sedona. I was welcomed by, I would call it a completely human woman. And she was a nun. That's the best way I can describe it. And this cave was filled with nuns. Really, they look different, like not like typical, religious nuns, but they were all really nuns within a cave who exist within this dimension. And all they do is they pray for humanity, they pray for Mother Earth, but not religiously, very, it's the divine self working. And this nun, she was a very round lady, and she had like piercing blue eyes, and they were all dressed up in these robes. And she just examined me and she says, okay, you can come in. You've got the light body that we allowed here. And I thought this was, an amazing lesson that I share here with us, because it's amazing what can happen, how much we can expand with just a little bit of Orin every day. That's my whole point here. A little bit of Orin every day can open up incredible things. So when we work with Divine Self, we are doing something so incredible, service to this shift of the ages to make it successful. And I love that Patricia was saying, we have prophecies, and the prophecies only exist when it is telling us, listen, there is a timeline that doesn't look so good, but you guys can change it. And so I feel very, very certain that we are here changing stuff so that we can have the most beneficial timeline for humanity and planet Earth. A little bit about this light of the Divine Self. So I, for the first time, got to experience my Divine Self around 2012 when I was listening to Orin. And I just thought to myself, this was one of the courses, none of the ones that I actually show here. It was called Birthing a New You. I don't think it's here. No. So again, Divine Self, Birthing a New You. So I thought, it was a weekend. So I sat down and I thought I'll just listen to Birthing the New You. So suddenly I got to meet the Divine Self, which I shared before. And so it was my first encounter, like very, very tangible. It is the voice that you recognize. It's no more the voice in the head. It is actually a voice that is completely within the heart, and you will hear it So it kind of is like a clairaudient experience. Oh, yeah. So, Julie, thank you for the question. I actually don't work for them and I don't get anything from this. There is no financial, like, oh, I'll recommend people and you then pay me later. None of that. And I actually feel that that's almost so much better, because if I was now trying to sell you stuff and say, hey, I'll get 20% if you buy it, that would not feel really good to me. And so I don't work for them, but actually Orin changed my life. When I emerged from the incredible experience of being human into my teenage years, I started to meditate, and my guides really came to me and started to guide me. And eventually they guided me to Orin, and then later to Daban as well. And so I've been journeying with Orin, and I've been able to transform everything about my life to like always the next best, the next best, the next best. And to me, I want that for everyone who is interested, because I don't like when people suffer. For example, I have people in my life that don't want to do the work, but they suffer. I see them suffering and I say, here is a tool, just do this every day until you crack the code. That's what I call it. But a lot of people don't want to actually take the power. And to me, Orin gave me the power to actually have the best experience of a human being on planet Earth in every possible way. And it doesn't mean that I don't ever go back to the human self. And actually, it's super rare for me, but it's only because Orin helped me so much to disconnect, to clear it all up. I don't know how many millions of hours of meditation I have done, but definitely a lot. And so if someone says, I'm still struggling with this, I say, oh, I've got an answer for that. And it is work with Orin. And then if it is physical, I say, I have an answer for that, work with Orin. And if someone already is at the highest of the highest potential they can be, I say, well, Orin has the next level. And it is true. So even when I already thought, like when Kundalini awakens, you kind of think, oh my gosh, what's next? Then there is so much more that's always next and next and next. And one thing I learned just from my own journey, so we also lose all the spiritual ego. The more we experience, the less of the self is there. So whenever I thought, oh my goodness, the light body just activated, that is so cool, this must be it. And then, 20 years later, I go like, oh, let us be humble about everything, because there's so much more, and so much more. And so also you see the evolution of your personality self. You become so much more humble. You become so much more wonderful in all ways, in all relationships, in all situations. And to me, it's like the big picture makes you just a wonderful human being. And so that's what and thank you for that question. I really appreciate it, because it is important. I wish I could work for Orin and Deben, but I kind of do, I guess, because I do divine work here, and you guys love working with Orin as well. And so today I wanted to take us to that amazing activation where we will be activating our higher mind, the mind of the divine self, and just a few more very short stories about the divine light within us that Patricia speaks about as well. So, I met my divine self and I was blown away. It was like a whole new dimension of love opened up within me that I didn't know that existed. And then years later, and this is how random this is, years later, I get to fully experience this incredible embodiment of the divine self. Now it was not just the voice in the heart, but it actually came down as like, here you go, this is your new you. You can be a completely new you. Do you want it? And this was offered to all of us, by the way, and we all said yes. So it's the beauty of it. And so I got to experience that. It was life-changing. It was like, Shakti and Shiva coming together into the oneness of who we are. But it didn't end there. And again, you would think like, whoa, that must be it. No, it keeps going. So the next thing that happened, I was out of body, and this beautiful cosmic being that many think that she is Egyptian, but I really do think that she is not, is Isis. I personally, from all my encounters in higher dimensions, firmly believe that none of the famous Egyptian beings are actually Egyptian. So what we call Isis, Osiris, Ptah, Hathor, I met those four. And I would say all these are cosmic beings who used to be visible to the beings in Egypt, to the people in Egypt. And they used to come and visit and used to come and work with humanity, and they could see them. So they started to draw pictures and make all this, artwork and dedicated the temples. But to me, for example, these 4 beings are not Egyptian beings. And so to me, Isis is really divine mother for humanity. She is the mother of nature. And so we call her Isis, but she comes in the form that the Egyptians also, depicted her. So Isis came to me, and she made me see the light of the divine self within. And this was so incredible to see that burning fire within, the light. And, she gave me instructions, but that was the first time I really saw this burning light within us. And then the next thing was I had a meeting, I call it, in the higher realms with the Council of Light. And the Council of Light actually was talking to me about, the missions we have here on planet Earth. And they said, remember, one of the most important things that you guys are doing here is that you carry that light within you, but you are in this world. So what does it make you? You are anchoring the divine light into the earth herself. So every day, if you can, just remember the mission, anchor the light of the divine into the earth. And so let us go and get in touch with that beautiful light within us so that we can do whatever it takes to actually illuminate this world and to end the pain and suffering that all of us have experienced. But of course, it's a generational thing. And so we want to be ending all the timelines that don't look so good. And I just say one more thing, if you don't mind, and that is another timeline that Divine Mother took me into, which I mentioned before, but don't mention so often. She showed me what the earth would look like if humans actually stopped caring for Mother Nature. And the oceans were filled with trash, all the old cars, all the stuff that humans didn't know what to do with. They just started putting it into the oceans, and it was awful. And the Divine Mother said, and now go back. She appeared to me and she said, now go back and make a difference, change that. And so these kind of things happen. And so here we are changing the timelines and making sure that humanity is choosing our cosmic Mother Nature in all her beautiful emanations, which also is the physical nature here on planet Earth. And so with that, we will do our activation. And so in this beautiful lunar cycle, once again, we are practicing as mystics. We had lunar cycles where we practiced breath. We had a lunar cycle where we practiced downloading the energy of the stars. In this lunar cycle, we also have a sacred practice. And the sacred practice is to visualize yourself all day long, as much as possible, as this being that has a pillar of light within. It actually is attached to our spinal cord and to our heart center, and expand that light from within into all of your life, all of it, every aspect of your life. These are just different beautiful visuals that Sanaya, and I think his name was Mitch, who created these beautiful visuals with Sanaya. And so this is now us. Now think about it. We all should always be that all the time. But, sometimes it's in and out. Sometimes it's like a little bit of human, a little bit of divine, a little bit of human, a little bit of divine. But we all have the same power, the incredible power to fully embody this beautiful divine self into the physical tuning fork that will allow us then, through the beautiful glands that we have, through all the beautiful systems within us, to perceive the fullness of us. And so this meditation is from this album we are working with. Again, I please recommend that everybody buys it if you can. It's $89. And we are going through all the tracks. This was track number 4. Beautiful. And so, like now, when you wake up in the morning, let's visualize this, expand it and allow it to burn all imperfections in your life. This is the power of the divine self. And I saw Happy, thank you for what you mentioned. And yes, we should do the Deva again. We will. So also I wanted to say, I know, for example, Happy, she works so selflessly with people who have a lot in their emotional bodies, mental bodies, and so on and so on. And I did mention Sadhguru and the hallucinogenic medicines. I don't want to sound like I'm against it. I actually do firmly believe. So I've got my master's from somatic psychology and consciousness. Now, somatic psychology to me was fascinating because I wanted to see how consciousness works through the body, especially when we have Kundalini awakening. And so I follow the science as well. And I do believe actually in the incredible power of certain plant medicines to be very helpful to people who simply are so stuck in very, very heavy emotional and mental bodies. And so, for example, Johns Hopkins University, great institution. I watched a documentary which fascinated me, where they use very high doses of psilocybin, so magic mushrooms. And they take people who are severely, severely depressed, like, suicidal. And they give them super high dose of psilocybin, magic mushroom, where they simply deconstruct the human being, because, there's nothing you can hold on to, I believe. I don't know, but I believe. And so from what I've seen in the documentary, for example, just so that I don't talk badly about these medicines, because I know it can be very, very beneficial for people who simply don't have, the energy to get there through yoga, through breathing, through meditation. But I do believe personally that yoga and meditation, and not so much the yoga of posture, but more the yoga of meditation, the yoga of breathing, the yoga of aligning, can give us access to these amazing, amazing levels of consciousness and beyond as well. So tomorrow is going to be the same, 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. And for those of you who have Gaia TV, so I'm just going to show you something that I recommend watching. It has a lot to do with ascension, and it has a lot to do with everything that we have shared here, especially today. Let me find where I open Gaia TV. Nowhere here. Let me try again. So here. So if you have Gaia TV, this show is called Cosmic Disclosures. And it was sent to me by one of our initiates here in the group. And it is pretty mind-blowing. So Cosmic Disclosures, and I will tell you which chapter this is. So if you go to like the 17 minutes into it, there is a former Pentagon intelligence officer. Her name is Anjali. Then there is an Air Force officer specializing in special operations and investigations. His name is Richard. And then there's this German guy, Tim. And they speak about ascension, and they speak about the things that the aliens and the beings told them that would unfold on planet Earth. It's really brilliant. And so let me also tell you which episode of Cosmic Disclosures this is. So it is called ET Contact, Government and Civilian. So definitely recommend it. Basically, Tim, the German guy, he has been working with many different beings, but it's very, very authentic, because I can only tell you that because I've met these beings myself. And so they teach the same thing. They say the same thing. The thing is, he also met a being he calls being 6. And this is so fascinating. It's in other episodes, but the being 6 is something that I would say to us would be Divine Mother. This big being within which we all live, within which we all experience things. And this being 6 is going through an evolution, going to a higher state of being, but it can only happen when all the beings within this other being become one. And when they become peaceful, when they become nice and loving. And to me, it's like saying, cosmic Mother Nature will evolve when we all evolve as well. So pretty interesting. So thank you so much for being here once again. I'm posting all the videos on YouTube. So thank you, and have a beautiful, beautiful day and night, and expand the light of divine self within.